ICE agents posing as TSA agents. Donald Trump is acting like they're there to relieve the pressure. Meanwhile, planes are running into ambulances like we don't know what's really going on. See, they've seized 3 different times the ballots in 3 different states.
A California sheriff who happens to be, by the way, one of the leading candidates for governor of the state of California, has seized more than 500,000 ballots from the recent ballot initiative election in California, in which the voters adopted a redistricting amendment that adopted a new map. But now, in the wake of what we have seen with the raid on Fulton County, the subpoena of Maricopa County, we now have a third incident of Republicans brazenly breaking the seal of democracy, the sanctity of the ballot box, by seizing ballots. And
there you go. Trying to tell y'all. Slow movements. Don't cause alarm yet. Do recon. See where we're going to have to batten down the hatches. Because I believe there's a draft coming. Ain't no way we can get rid of 93 million people just like that. Got to have a draft somewhere. What's the best way to hold down the draft? Maybe you send all the ICE agents to the TSA airports.
We can use what's happening with these ICE helping out at the airports. We can use this as a test run, as a test case to really perfect ICE's involvement in the 2026 midterm election, sir.
Yeah, I think we should have ICE agents at the polling places.
I think it's perfect training for the fall of 2026. Look what happened. They moved everybody along. People get there quick. They vote quick. Maybe every now and again they pull somebody line. Hey, yo, ID? Got an ID?
So I believe that he's going to start arresting judges, governors, things like that, since they're not ruling in his favor at all. They told us normal rules don't apply. That includes the Constitution. That includes the law.
No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars.
What I'm telling you is happening is happening. Donald Trump does not want to leave office. He's still got another couple more years to go. So he's going to do everything in his power to secure that power. Seizing ballots, putting ICE agents in the airports for recon, people. Just like when he first made the call for all the truckers to go down to the border, he wanted to see what governors was going to allow him to have this kind of power. Who was going to support him? And I said, all them people that ran down there, those are going to be the first people that he picked to be a part of his shock troops. We called them shock troops back then. They call it ICE now. When they let out everybody from the J6, we said all them people going to have first choice in his shock troop. We call it ICE now. Listen to what I'm telling you. This is all recon for what's coming. I know I'm saying like fire and brimstone, but let's face it. Did any other dictator do anything different? You need to check your history. This thing that's going on in Iran, we've done this before, back in Jimmy Carter's day. We know how it is trying to take over Iran. The British and Americans had all Iran's oil. And they say, hey, man, y'all scamming us. We barely getting the profit for our own damn oil. So they changed dictators. And then the CIA came in and changed dictators again. And then the people revolted on the Shah. We went and got the Shah. Then that's when we had the whole big Iran-Contra scandal. When they held USA citizens for over 2 years. Now, why are we still bumping about this? Because Trump don't like them. He don't like Muslims, period, first and foremost. Second of all, he remembered they let all the black people go when they did that. When they snatched the American embassy and took everybody hostages, they let all the Negroes go.
Okay, one of the most insane historical facts has got to be when Iran took a bunch of American hostages in 1979, but then decided to free all the black hostages and the women. Why did Iran do this, you ask? Well, first we got to go back a little bit to why Iran took hostages in the first place. And when you understand this, you'll also understand why Iran and the USA don't really like each other.
They say, hey, don't they treat y'all bad over there? Yeah, go on. We just want the oppressors. We're going to keep all the white folks. Check your history. But they kept one. And that was the one that was a radio operator for the Marines. They said, you got privy information. We're going to hold on to you. You're a U.S. government guy. Yeah. So they kept one Negro. And they kept all the white folks. That's what the movie Argo was about. Ben Affleck, y'all remember? But anyway, on to today's news.
Zero net job creation in the private sector. Zero.
This is a literal nightmare because this is literally the 1970s.
This is stagflation.
Oil shock. Yeah, this is stagflation. High inflation, high unemployment, oil, energy shock. We lived through it. Take a look at the mortgage rates continue to tick up. Take a look at the bond, the yields. I mean, they're climbing as of this morning. And then let's talk about deficit spending. Notice, look at this, guys. The Pentagon has now asked the White House today for a more than $200 billion supplemental for the Iran war.
Now, I just want y'all to understand what he just said. Think about this, okay? What the man just said was that the bond yields, which means like mortgage rates are going to go up. Nobody's buying our treasury bonds. We are going broke again. Everything is skyrocketing, right? So the $38 trillion debt, that $1 trillion interest has got to be paid. And we study creating more debt. You see the news in China. They laughing their heads off. Laughing their heads off. Because while Donald Trump is trying to tell y'all the war is over and that they give us gifts and everything, we have to remember China and Russia both profit off of Iran and their oil. The whole Asian coast profits off of that. The whole Asian coast was told you can no longer buy this oil with American dollars. That hurt. Canada, no longer buying oil with American dollars. That hurt. All over the world, they are ditching the American dollar as far as buying oil. Now, we in this broke-ass situation, so Trump is even floating. Already took the Venezuelan president. Now he wants to take the Cuban president, and he wants to take the Colombian president. Y'all ain't heard? That's what desperate people do.
As Nicolas Maduro heads back to federal court on Thursday, the Trump Justice Department has been investigating the leaders of at least 2 other Latin American countries. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that federal prosecutors in southern Florida have been investigating Cuba's leadership as that country is plunged into protracted blackouts amid a U.S. blockade of Venezuelan oil. Meanwhile, in New York, federal prosecutors in Manhattan and Brooklyn have reportedly been investigating Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a man who has been in a long-standing feud with Donald Trump.
See what I'm saying? You got to know what's happening, folks. We're going bankrupt. Bankrupt, dog. And we study creating more debt. The only way to fill that is new colonialism. So we don't go over there no more and, just put the people as slaves and everything. We just take one guy, the president. Sooner or later, that is going to disrupt the flow to China and Russia. Sooner or later, India, BRICS, all the BRICS nations are going to come on full circle with this. Trump is trying to get a better deal to save face. There is no better deal. Let's forget about that. Ain't no better deal. Unless he gets someone like the Venezuelan president to make a deal to keep their life. Iran's not that people. They are not giving up. We would have to kill every last one of them. But let me do the math for you. Let me do the math. There were only 1 million and something people in Afghanistan. They had no Navy, no Air Force. It was just a bunch of people up in the hills, AKs and stuff like that, doing terrorist stuff. And they whooped our ass. For 20 years, we tried to get them out of there. Trump did the exit plan, blamed it on Biden, because that's when it actually happened. But he made the plans to leave all them goddamn equipments out there. $3 trillion worth of equipment, which, by the way, they're now fighting Pakistan with. So, let's do the numbers. They have much cheaper weapons than we do. We're spending. We are spending this amount. Now, they have 93 million people. 93 million people. Last count. And it's definitely going to have to be a ground war. It was a ground war when we was in Afghanistan, wasn't it? I mean, I ain't see nobody flying F-35s or anything like that. I ain't see nobody rolling around on boats in the desert. Hey, Siri, what was the population of Afghanistan during the war with America? The population of Afghanistan was estimated at 35.7 million as of 2024 by the Afghanistan National Statistics. Hey, Siri, what is the population of Iran?
In 2025, the population of Iran was 92,417,700.
How long do y'all think that's going to take? Yeah. But then there's this.
This is the most impactful thing that's happening in the war. And if nobody's told you about this, then you should stop watching their media channels. And this was as of about 3 days ago when Iran announced that it was willing to open the strait to U.S. allies on one condition, that they buy oil in the Chinese yuan. 12 nations agreed within 48 hours. Yesterday, this was confirmed as India has now been the first U.S. ally that is now shipping oil out of the Strait of Hormuz after purchasing it in the Chinese yuan, not the U.S. petrodollar.
Whole sort of what we're not seeing. There's this argument that China's watching what's going on with the U.S. and Iran. Here we are depleting our interceptors, our munitions. China's meanwhile stockpiling, its resources. And does this put us at a disadvantage if and when the day comes where China decides to take proactive, aggressive action vis-a-vis Tehran? I read today the interceptor to missile ratio, something like 25 to 1. That the interceptors needed to catch these ballistic missiles that Kuwait, the UAE, Israel is using. They're like upwards of 10, 15 times more expensive.
Yes.
And these drones are relatively cheaply made, these Shahed drones that they're using. So, there is that aspect of it too, that Iran can just fire like a madman, all these sort of expendable munitions. And meanwhile, we're spending 3, 4, 5, 10 times as much to intercept them.
And that is the short tail of it. They're breaking us. And Russia and China, who is their ally, hasn't even got into it yet. They are fighting off two countries, Israel and America, with just little bitty Iran. So, what do you do when you're the president of the United States and you know good and well the business is in the gutter for the GPA of the United States? Well, you send your people out there to do this.
That's real. When you say end soon, you think a matter of weeks, not months?
Correct. That's right.
I've said that they don't think prices will come back down to the 60s anytime soon. Do you? Is that in your forecast?
And when she says the 60s, she's talking about the price per barrel of oil.
Oh, if you look at futures markets, they've got them going down into the 60s again by the fall, and I think that's relatively pessimistic.
75 was what the WTI was for the December contract yesterday.
She just corrected him and said, "You're saying by the fall? It's 75 now."
It goes all the way down to the 50s past the year.
If you look at futures markets, they've got them going down to the 60s again by the fall.
That's crazy. That was probably before the war.
Okay. And what he appears to be leaning on, it's my only guess here, is whether it's intentional or not, is the EIA's short-term energy outlook. Now, the EIA's own February forecast had WTI averaging around $53 a barrel for 2026 and $49 a barrel for 2027.
I know this is boring, but this is where you learn why it's a lie and why you must prepare for what's coming. Watch your pennies.
These numbers are obsolete. So the March EIA revised it slightly upward, with WTI averaging $74 a barrel in 2026 and $61 a barrel in 2027. But even that revised forecast is already trailing what the live market is predicting. And this is what Hassett didn't tell you. This is the live futures curve on the CME as of March 18th, 2026. The December 2026 contract, the one that he cited, is not in the 60s.
See, this is what they always do. They give you the best case, scenario that comes from a real, actual, polling, but it's outdated, and they don't tell you that. Fox News knows this.
It's at $77.7 per barrel as of the morning that he made that forecast. By the end of 2027, the back end of the curve is still sitting in the 70s.
We have now. See, the reason this matters is because Donald Trump is trying to get more money, so he has to make up reasons why he thinks we're going to make more money. So the best way you can do that in short term, when the numbers ain't playing out on Wall Street, is this.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces.
That was his out for lying. Their communication has been blown to pieces. That lets you know it's a lie. He doesn't know who Jared and them is talking to because he's not talking to nobody. He said J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, who's in Florida testifying on his other partner's $50 million scam he ran in Venezuela, about to lock his ass up. Marco Rubio got to testify for him. Kushner and Whitlow. Those are the people that are in the world financial, his cryptocurrency heads, Jared Kushner, and they are over there acting as, liaisons to American affairs, and they surely ain't appointed. So I don't know how Jared Kushner is doing all this negotiation for war stuff when Parslev went to jail for that. Matter of fact, Marco Rubio is down in Florida right now testifying because that's exactly what his best friend was doing. Acting as a foreign agent, getting $50 million contracts, knowing what was about to go down in Venezuela. He on trial right now.
Now in Florida, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in the hot seat. He's facing a federal judge in Miami in a courtroom to testify, and it's because of his ties to this man you see there. That's his longtime friend and former Florida Congressman David Rivera. Important to note, Rubio is not being charged with a crime, but his former housemate Rivera is being accused of pocketing $50 million to secretly lobby on behalf of the Venezuelan government.
But this is what you do when you got to come up with more money that you don't have.
We're unable to talk to each other, but we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict, and I think it'll end it very, very substantially.
Now that is how Trump patty cakes things, and this is how the market shot up behind the lies.
This is absolutely insane, says the Kobasi letter. At 7:04 a.m. this morning, President Trump said, quote, the U.S. and Iran have had productive discussions to end the war. By 7:10 a.m., the S&P 500 had surged 240 points, adding $2 trillion to the market cap. 27 minutes later, Iran completely denied all of Donald Trump's claims and said there had been no contact with the United States. By 8 a.m., the S&P 500 had fallen 120 points, erasing $1 trillion. That is a $3 trillion swing just in the S&P 500. Donald Trump is clearly panicking as the markets are dropping, as energy prices are surging, and that's what the Iranian regime is alleging. We're going to break down what everybody has said, starting off with the speaker of Iran. Yashar Ali says, breaking, the speaker of Iran's parliament, who some claim has been negotiating with the U.S., says no negotiations have taken place and that President Trump is claiming otherwise to manipulate markets.
So how many murders is the president going to have to commit in order to get complete regime change? We're talking regime change in Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia. That's just of right now, because Israel's taking Lebanon as we speak. How many murders is he going to have to commit in order to do this? Because we're broke.